All right, now stop. We don't have a lot of time. And we have a lot to talk about. Hi guys, thank you for being here. Welcome to Texas. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about this season of Justified. Graham.
Yes.
Tell us about putting this season together, if you would, with your writers, and then how it evolved, the conversation evolved over the course of the season.
Well, to start, it's good that we're doing this with Joelle because yeah, a lot of the season was based on what we were going to do with Ava, and because we realized that there were no other television shows that had women in prison, so we thought, let's do that because no one would do that.
Well, honestly, we spent season 4 getting her there, and then Orange is the New Black.
We didn't know that was going to happen and be so good. But that's why the big decision was that Ava would not wear orange, and it would be sort of a tan thing. But but truthfully, we spent season 4 getting to the point where we really wanted to have Ava and Boyd on these separate trajectories, and we wanted to have a season where Ava was going to be alone and she would have to rely on herself. And we also wanted at the end of the season that she does everything she can, but it's still going to end badly, and then she gets sprung. And you guys have seen the last scene on the bridge. We knew we wanted that scene at the beginning. When we were first breaking the season, we knew we wanted the season to end with that scene because we knew that's what we wanted to do in season 6.
Do you come in with other tent poles to the season?
Well, the other big thing we came in with, and this was before Elmore died, we decided that we wanted to see more of Dewey Crow. We love that character. We love Damon Harriman, who's been a real friend of the show right from the beginning, and just so much fun to work with. So we thought, last season in season 4 we had fun with Constable Bob. This season let's have fun with Dewey Crow. And then that sparked a conversation. Well, wait a second, the Crows are a huge part of Elmore's world. Through so many books, there's so many Crows, we thought, what if we just created some more Florida Crows and made that a thing that Raylan has to face? And then we thought, wow, it'd be cool. What if Raylan goes to Florida in the first episode? What if Boyd goes to Detroit, which are the two sort of loci in Elmore's universe? And we were feeling pretty cool about that. And then, we never really got to talk about with Elmore. He had a stroke in early August when he was gone a week later, so late July.
Well, it clearly worked. I'm curious, and I want to get back to some of the casting on these new characters as well, but Graham and I have talked on the podcast before about, the actor's role in this show, which is really a very creative role, more so than many other shows. That, you guys have quite a bit of input into your storylines for your characters and things like that, and it sounds like it's an interesting give and take. Joelle, I'm curious about when you are given a script, what happens next?
Answer very carefully, Joe.
Put it to the side, and I wait for the second script.
Wow. That is so true.
In the third, the fourth.
We have at Sony. They've got like a conservation of colors, so we don't have all the salmon and the this and that. We've got blue, pink, green, yellow, and then we start repeating, I think. But we've made it to triple white. And I think triple blue ones, but we do a lot of revisions.
I think as the seasons go on, though, and you become the character, you have a need to say things. It's just the way you say them, if they're going to be heard or not. So, and I think to the grace of Graham and his writers, they became more and more open to asking and receiving. So it's been nice.
Yep. You brought muffins or cupcakes and stuff, so that was great.
Were there? I mean, you knew what was in store for Ava in this season, but were there surprises, or what were these surprises for you?
All I knew is that Ava was in prison.
So you didn't know any of the story beats that were going to happen?
Not for a little while. After the third episode, I said, Graham, what's happening?
And then he called me, and I had a little more information as to what was going to happen.
And honestly, that wasn't me trying to be secretive or anything. It's just that the whole process, gets going, and it's just, you forget. It's like, oh, yeah, we should tell Joelle what's going to happen at the end of the season, because it's a big thing in the history of the show.
I kind of like not knowing too much sometimes, because then it reveals itself, and I get to work organically in that way.
Sure, you can be in the moment in a lot of ways.
I think reflecting on Ava since season 1 now, to thinking about maybe what's going to happen to her in 6. I didn't really realize, and I don't know if you guys realized when you were creating her, that she is made up of the same stuff that Raylan and Boyd are. And in some way, they're all sociopaths.
Well, there's, Tim is going to always bring us back to the source, to the scripture, in our case, which is the short story or novella Fire in the Hole, and then Elmore's work in general. And one of Elmore's things is that, character will out, and people tend to just be who they are. And from the beginning of Ava, as we get to know her in Fire in the Hole, she had just killed her husband. She shot him with a mouthful of yams, at the dinner table. Was it yams or ham? I forget what he had in his mouth, but, and he made some joke, right? No, Boyd later makes the joke, and he's very proud of it.
God, woman, you always shoot your men while they're eating dinner or something.
And he looks at Raylan like, that was pretty good, right? But there's something that's been off about Ava right from the beginning. And yeah, there is that sense of the three of them. And that was, we sort of figured that season 5 and season 6 were going to be all part of this one big thing. But that we needed a story for season 5 that would feel satisfactory at the end of the season, and that became the Crows. Dewey and then Daryl, et cetera. But we knew that ultimately what we were headed for is bringing the whole series back down to the basic triangle of Raylan, Boyd, and Ava.
That's great. While we're on the topic of the Crows, Michael Rappaport is not the guy you think of to play a redneck gangster. How did you wind up with this guy?
Michael,
who was great.
I thought he was great. His performance has, divided some people. Some people really didn't get the casting, didn't get him playing it.
They're fools.
Sorry,
the AV Club.
Well, they're dead to me. I saw Alan Sepinwall today. I said, Alan Sepinwall? That's what I said. No, I didn't say that at all. I said, please like the show next year. But some people didn't like it. I remember we first heard him do the accent, and we heard real Florida Everglades accent, and it was very, very similar. He really actually got something that was real, but I don't think people accepted it, or some people didn't, because it was coming out of Michael Rappaport's mouth. I thought he's great. He has such a big hulking presence, and he hasn't always played that in the things he's been in, and I thought he was wonderful. And then, we just lucked out getting people like A.J. Buckley to play Danny, who was tremendous, and Alicia Witt, who really she did some amazing work this year. I don't know if someone was applauding or just...
I think that's her. You're here. You were great.
And the kid was wonderful, too, so we really lucked out.
Joelle, let's talk for a moment about Ava. She's such a fascinating character, and like you said, she may be at heart a sociopath. What are some of the joys of playing this character?
I think what I love about her is that we can continue to like Ava. And when I say she's a sociopath, it's because she's killed 3 people, and she justifies it. And we've justified it because she's protected herself. But yet, people are made up of that and walk around living in society's moral reality, right? The normal morals that we can accept. She's made the choices all the way through. So I like that she's kind of been, even though she's been in charge of her destiny now, she's had to pay for it. I think she knew that she potentially could end up in jail, and she did. And I really love that she can love, and that she's been loved, and that she's loyal. So I think that I bring a softness to her that maybe some other people might not have thought of bringing to someone who lives in such a chaotic, harsh world.
Yeah, I mean, you do play her. She can be very tough, and she can also be very vulnerable. And I think that's why we respond to the character. I think that's probably why she's still around.
Yeah. And her biggest thing is that she wants to survive, and she's done that. I mean, I think that's a big deal for Boy too, and they justify it, and they don't judge each other. And
Are there, and I will ask this to both of you, are there particular challenges to playing and writing this character compared to maybe some of the other characters?
maybe I wasn't really supposed to stick around.
No, I mean, after we did the pilot, we quickly made the decision that we wanted Ava to stick around, that there was just, you're great. So, and you're great in the part, and that was very simple. Yeah, and you guys. And it was just, and it was just a matter of then figuring out what we could do. And, we ended up with making the big, bold leap in season 2 of having Ava and Boyd come together. And that was pretty risky, but I think we got into it fast, but then allowed ourselves the time to explore it. So that it didn't, while we went into it quickly, and that might have caught some people by surprise, we ended up sort of finding our way through it and finding, I hope, interesting things. And certainly, Joelle and Walton found great things.
And they give her really cool things to do, like hit someone with a frying pan.
That was at the top of season 3, and that was Tim's idea. We were sitting around. He said, "What if she hits him with a frying pan?" And I said, "That's fantastic. Let's do that." But the fun of writing Ava is it's fun to write for Joelle. The challenge this season was that we didn't have her playing off any of our regulars, and we didn't sort of have the time to build a really thick universe there. Playing with blanking on her name, Judith, Dale Dickey, who was in, if you haven't seen Winter's Bone, leave now and go see Winter's Bone. But just an amazing actress, and that I think we landed on an interesting character with her, and that gave you something to play off of. And I thought the nurse was really good. I forget the actress's name. She was really a striking actress. So, but we didn't have. There was no Dewey or Dickey for Ava to play off of, and so. A lot was just resting on Joelle's shoulders, and and I think that I wouldn't say we got lazy, but I think that there's a certain, it's like, well, she'll be great because it's Joelle and she's Ava, and people love it, and it was just fun to torment the character this season and just have her go through, truly, and have her go through so much.
It's like, am I getting out?
That's right. So that was the problem.
You said I was.
You're getting out, not quite maybe as fast as you'd like. And then there was the big discussion going into episode 6 about the hair.
Oh yes,
And
the hairgate.
The hairgate, the cutting of the hair. And you said one of the sweetest things. You said, I knew at some point in my career I would probably have to cut my hair, and I would only want to do it for something I care about. And unfortunately, you're making me do it now and justify it. But you said, I love this show, so let's do it.
You said you wanted to see this character go through a transformation, as she's done through all the seasons, and in prison it was to kind of re-identify herself.
Yeah.
And that helped in that process.
I want to make sure we get a bunch of your questions in, so start thinking of them. But so just a couple more quick things. But Joelle, Graham is talking about the scenes you had with the other cast regulars. Can you talk a little bit about working with some of these guys? I mean, you've had some intense scenes across the board with all of them.
No, they should have been here.
This is your chance to talk about them.
I'm in such good company.
I'm a lucky lady. I've said that many times. Tim and Walton are very different, but yet they're both so giving in the process of acting. Walton comes with such energy and such excitement, and you don't know what is going to come at you, and he will encourage more. Tim is so giving in that he'll just throw. If the scene had been written, Tim hits them with a frying pan. He's like, "Why don't you try it? It might be
Yeah.
It might be a good idea. I'm-
All right, I'll take it.
Yeah,
Good answer.
they're just- yeah, I can't say enough.
Let's talk before we open up to questions from this very eager crowd. Get off your phone.
They're mostly drunk, though, aren't they?
I assume so.
They've got
That's all right.
like, the
So are
trays.
we. So we're coming up on the final season. How many episodes in this final season?
13.
13. I'm going to ask you if you can tell us every single thing that happens in it.
We said I'm only going to make it to episode 2.
Sure.
She was being mean in the car, and so I always threaten her with shit like that.
Do you feel a ticking clock on this? Is there stuff that you feel like, storylines or even just moments that we've been putting off for this many years? We got to get this stuff in at this point, or are you happy to follow the story through and take it where it naturally goes? Which it seems like that's how the shows generally run.
Yeah, it's always that thing where we want to give the audience what they want, but in a way that they don't expect it. And that's just, it's a very simple goal, and it can sound a little trite, but that is, something that we try to do. So get Abe out of prison, but do it in a way that you might not have expected that was going to happen. I think everyone feels that this series has to come back down to something between Raylan and Boyd, but we kick that around, and it's like, well, you want to have Raylan just shoot Boyd? I mean, he's already done it once, and that didn't work. But we're honestly open to everything, and we have not yet decided. Totally honest, we haven't yet decided who lives and who dies. We don't know how the thing is going to end.
How deep into writing are you right now?
We haven't started writing.
Oh, okay.
We'll start writing in a few weeks, or start the writers' room.
Yeah.
We've been having we had preliminary meetings at the end of last season, and we get together sort of once a month to kick things around.
And do you have pretty much the same writing staff that you've had the past couple of years?
Yes.
That's great.
Same staff as last year, plus our guy who was our in-room writer's assistant is bumped up to staff.
Well, we cannot wait for it. I assume you guys have questions. Here's how it's going to work. Can you bring the lights up a little bit? Anyone? Here's how it's going to work. I will call on you like school, and you will stand up, not like school, and ask your question, and then I'm going to repeat the question into this microphone so that it is recorded for the podcast, which we will eventually release. Is that cool? The question is, do you know what you're working towards?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, because it has evolved. Obviously, in the first season or two, we would have more what we call standalone episodes. We would still be moving the bigger story along, but it would be about this or that. The pregnant fugitive in season 2, or what we call the slow speed chase, or the octogenarian in season 2. And we did that last season kind of with the one-legged guy jumping out the window, which was a true Marshall story, and Tim always wanted us to do that, so we did that. But we, I think our inclination is for the final season to be somewhat more serialized and just be focused on the one big story. That said, we hope to break down the big story into bite-sized chunks, so that our show, I don't think, will ever be as completely serialized as some shows are, where in a sense you sort of feel like there's this long show, there's this season, and they just cut it arbitrarily into chunks, and that's this week's chunk. We really like to have that sense of, and by the way, apparently I just criticized all of television, so I'm glad I feel superior.
Sorry,
to
Game
all
of Thrones.
What will you do?
Game of Thrones, my favorite show in the history of filmed entertainment. But anyway, it's going to be one big story.
Great. Are you tempted to bring back, you have such a rich world of characters. Are you guys tempted to just bring everybody back for these final episodes?
Absolutely. And
you will.
And we will not. But, I'll get phone calls, Neil McDonough will call and say, I'm missing an arm, but I'm not dead necessarily, I don't know. I don't know who will bring. But it's so driven by story. I will say that we had no intention at all this season of seeing Dickie Bennett. And when Taylor and Keith Schreier were breaking that episode, maybe it was, anyway, they came up with this idea, and there was Dickie Bennett. It was like, great scene.
Yeah.
Cool.
How far in advance do you write the episodes, and do the actors have any input?
We'll start the writers' room in right after 4th of July, and we'll start shooting middle of October. Hopefully by that time, we've usually got like 3 or 4.
That's when you bring the cupcakes in.
You bring the cupcakes in sort of July or August. And then we sit down with all our main cast and sort of talk roughly what we're thinking about for the season. So we'll start with 4 scripts, let's say, in the bank. That's a good number. Man, if we had 6, it'd be fantastic. And that lead time starts to whittle away. The tired old cliche or image or metaphor is that we start laying track for the train in July, and the train starts rolling in October, and by February we are just frantically throwing down rails and just trying to stay ahead of the oncoming beast. But that's it roughly. In terms of the actors having input, yeah, you bring the cupcakes in July, that's good. And then it just depends on the episode. Tim has an incredible amount of input. I mean, he drives a lot of the rewriting. And Walton has a lot of input. And it depends, when it's like episode 5 this season, which is one of my favorite episodes that we've ever done, because we really got to spend a good chunk of time with Art. Nick actually, he didn't have that many notes on that episode. He's had more notes on smaller scenes in other episodes.
He said, please don't make me run.
Yeah, he always said, the reason we had him run in season 2 is because he said, please don't have me run. So, okay, so we'll do that.
I have sort of a related question. Joelle, I mean, we talked about what an intense character this can be. How do you leave her behind at the end of the season, and how do you get back into that come October or when production starts?
Especially this past season, I would shoot intently for a whole day because I had to rent out the prison. Yep. And I had never been so exhausted in my life, but they crammed into one day. I would have to wait until like 2 or 3 days before and start preparing, and then after it would take me like 2 days to shed it off. But because I have a kid to raise, and I can't really walk around with Ava.
It's bad for your kid. Totally. There was a question here, yes. Can you talk about Raylan's relationship with Art?
We've always looked at Art as being Raylan's good father. Yeah. And we felt like having a potentially permanent fracture in the relationship was something to shoot for in season 5. And that's one of my favorite scenes that we've done, is the last scene of episode 5, when Raylan admits to him without admitting. He admits it enough that Art knows, but not so much that it would screw up the office and Art's career. And then the punch was one of my favorite moments. They're really, really good together. And those scenes are always some of the most fun to write, and certainly some of the most fun to see when they're done. I'm rarely on the set, and you would never be there for those scenes, so I don't know. But I think it goes pretty well. But Art is the good father, and we felt that would be an important thing to play out over the last two seasons. Whether or not they end up, going fishing at the end of season 6, I don't know if they're ever going to be that level of friend again. But that is a key relationship. So when I say the last season is about Raylan, Boyd, and Ava, it's also about Art. It's also about Rachel. It's also about Tim Gunderson too, and all the parts that are in play. It's bringing everything back down to that. That said, there'll be a significant things for Wynn Duffy and Catherine to do, getting married soon. So.
Scene with Ava.
Yeah, no, I would see a season. I would say, we're going to do a season.
I would see a spin-off. Certainly. We have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Yes, right here. What are your hopes and dreams for Ava in this last season, and do you think she'll make it out of Harlan alive?
Because if this is a really good answer, I'm going to want to write this down.
Absolutely.
So should I hold back?
No.
Ava is still in love with Boyd, as far as I see it. I don't know how they rekindle this relationship. That would be interesting to see. If that happens, how does she do that and also inform on him? Does she come clean? there's so many questions, and I don't know what they're going to bring my way. What I would like to see is in the end, whatever road she chooses, is she's with Boyd, and she gets to be part of the decision of her own fate. So yes, I'm here with you. Let's run, or let's go all shooting together, or something happens between them. So then maybe I can't imagine it, but standing alone on her own. One of the things I really wanted was for Raylan to admit that he is cut out of the same cloth as we are. He just wears a badge.
Write that down.
Yeah, right?
That's good. We have time for one more question. Yes.
So it's great to write develop a character for an actress that you love, but what do you do when you have a situation where you love a character, but maybe the actor or actress isn't giving you what you want?
In Justified, we kill them.
You've seen it. You've seen plenty of seasons of this.
Well, it happened this year where we had an actor who wasn't happy with what we were doing with the character, and we weren't, and we didn't want to hold him, and we didn't have a long-term contract, so we said, well, we'll figure out how to get you off the show.
And he wasn't even present when they killed him.
No. And because he didn't want to come back, it just wasn't working out. He just didn't enjoy being on the show, and it's like, well, fine, we'll figure it out. And no, we thought of different ways to get the character off, just having to disappear off screen, and then two of the writers in the hall said, wait a second, what about in episode 5? Let's just jam everything in that episode.
Well, you've also
it's like, okay, let's try that.
You've built this world where you can bring characters in and out. If someone's not happy, you can get rid of them.
Yeah, and frankly, it gets muddied or it gets confused or it sounds kind of slightly ugly because it involves a human being who's an actor, and things just didn't work out, and I bear no ill will toward him. But Elmore would do it to his characters all the time. There's a great thing in Riding the Rap where he'd set up this thing between two guys who, who's the fastest draw, and so one guy goes out and he says, let's do this, and let's just, we'll just pretend. And so the one guy draws really fast and pretend, and the other guy just pulls out the gun and shoots him. And and he's kind of dying like, what? We were kidding. And he told me that when he wrote that, it just came to him. He had bore no ill will towards that character. He liked that character. He just thought, no, let's have this happen now. And that's one of the hallmarks of his writing is you sometimes will be reading along, you go, I've got to read those pages again because I can't believe that just happened.
We'll end as we always end the Nerd Strategist panel, starting with Joelle and then Graham, by asking, what are you watching on television these days? What is getting you, or in movies for that matter, what is getting you excited or inspired? What are you talking about with your room, your spouse, your friends, anything?
Definitely Game of Thrones. I'm right there with you. We just finished the last season of Homeland because we were behind, and I really, really enjoyed that. I couldn't believe it. I was looking it up because I hadn't read anything, and I'm like, was he really coming by? Or somehow did they fake the
Thanks, I hadn't watched that. But I'm going to catch up on Good Wife really soon, so I'm hoping nothing crazy happens on that show.
And I've been watching Veep. I don't get to watch a lot of TV, but...
What is your 4-year-old watching?
Veep.
Sure. Homeland.
When she's not watching Frozen yet again.
Right. Which my husband edited out the scary parts. Or her. Please don't arrest him.
I don't know who you were looking at over there, but I don't know if you're with the guild or...
Festival.
Graham, what are you watching on television? What are you talking about with The Room? Anything like that?
We'll see with The Room. We always come back in and we just tear other shows to shreds, and then love them at the same time. We talked a lot about True Detective. Detective, is it singular or plural? Singular.
It's True's Detective.
Even True's Detective. But there were two of them, so I don't understand why it was singular. But we talked a lot about that. That was the show that we loved and also hated. Now, we never really hated it, but
sparks discussion.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. But Game of Thrones, Veep, the debate episode, which I just recently saw. I couldn't watch it at points. I was like, oh no. Louis, I think that, yeah, not just supporting the FX brand. We talk about Fargo, we love Fargo. That's not just to support the FX brand, but I think there are times when I think Louis is the best thing that's ever been on television. Not every week, and not every scene in every episode, but you'll see things and you can just go, thank God for, now this is a suck-up quote, thank God for FX, you know. But also...
I just started Orange is the New Black today at the festival.
Did you start with season 2? Did you go to the screening?
Which is great. Yeah.
So that's the place to start.
I've watched these two shows mashed together. I watch Orphan is the New Black.
Yeah, that's the best. A whole prison full of clones. So good.
I love Orphan Black. Very proud that Tatiana is Canadian, as I am. And also my son and I really, really got into Silicon Valley. So
fun, right? All correct answers. Please give a round of applause to Graham and Joelle, to everyone here at ATX. Thank you guys for coming.